There is a strong historical parallel between the McKinley Tariffs of 1890 and the Trump Tariffs of 2025. In this presentation, we examine how two moments separated by more than a century share the same underlying pattern: the United States using aggressive tariff policy to pressure Canada economically, paired with rhetoric that challenges or undermines Canadian sovereignty. The evidence from both eras shows that these pressures were never just about trade, they were part of a broader strategy to assert dominance over Canada's political and economic choices. As we move through the slides, we will see how McKinley and Trump used similar tools and similar language, and how Canada responded with the same instinctive pushback rooted in nationalism and sovereignty. Yes, there is a strong and historically significant parallel between the McKinley Tariffs of 1890 and the Trump Tariffs of 2025. Both leaders used tariffs not only as economic instruments but as political leverage to push Canada into alignment with U.S. interests. McKinley openly used the tariff as a tool to weaken Canada economically and make annexation seem inevitable. Trump repeatedly spoke about Canada as the 51st state, while imposing broad tariffs on key Canadian sectors. These actions share the same strategic DNA: to pressure Canada into compliance while framing U.S. dominance as the natural order of North America. In both eras, the strategy backfired and strengthened Canadian nationalism. The McKinley Tariff raised duties to nearly 50% and was openly justified by U.S. politicians and newspapers as a way to damage Canada's economy, force trade concessions, and make political union with the United States appear inevitable. American business groups and Republican lawmakers supported the tariff as a form of economic coercion designed to draw Canada into the American sphere. The intention was not subtle. Annexation was widely discussed as a desirable and achievable outcome. The tariff was therefore not just protectionism but an attempt to reshape the political future of the continent. President Trump repeatedly suggested that Canada would be better off as the 51st state, blending economic pressure with political rhetoric that questioned Canadian sovereignty. His 2025 tariffs targeted Canada's most strategic sectors, including EVs, steel, aluminum, agriculture, and critical minerals. When combined with annexation-flavored comments, these tariffs sent the same message that Canada heard in 1890, that its prosperity and autonomy should bend to U.S. preferences. While not formal policy, Trump's language reinforced a worldview in which Canada's sovereignty is treated as negotiable. Both McKinley and Trump weaponized economic interdependence to discipline Canada. Both attempted to force Canada into political or economic alignment under conditions dictated by Washington. And both used rhetoric that implied Canadian subordination or potential absorption into the United States. For McKinley, annexation was explicit. For Trump, annexation rhetoric re-emerged alongside an "America First" strategy that framed Canadian sovereignty as conditional. These parallels reveal a repeating pattern in U.S. behavior toward Canada during periods of economic nationalism. In 1890, the McKinley Tariff strengthened Canadian nationalism, increased the country's alignment with Britain, and solidified resistance to U.S. pressure. In 2025, Trump's tariffs and annexation-tinged comments produced similar effects: diversification of trade toward Europe and Asia, renewed investment in domestic industrial policy, and unified cross-party pushback against American protectionism. In both eras, economic coercion did not make Canada more compliant, it made Canada more determined to assert its independence and protect its sovereignty. Although the historical parallel is strong, modern Canada is fundamentally different from its 1890 counterpart. Canada today is a G7 nation with global trade networks, strong alliances, formal dispute resolution mechanisms through CUSMA and the WTO, and deeply institutionalized sovereignty. These structural realities make annexation impossible, regardless of rhetorical echoes from the past. The comparison reveals similarity in strategy and tone, not feasibility. Canada's position in the international system ensures its autonomy even when rhetoric turns provocative. When Trump's annexation-tinged comments are taken into account, the parallel to McKinley becomes clear. Both leaders used tariffs as a coercive tool to reshape Canada's economic and political posture. Both framed U.S. dominance as the natural architecture of North America. And in both cases, Canada responded not with submission but with strengthened nationalism, diversified trade relationships, and renewed commitments to sovereignty. The comparison shows how deeply rooted these dynamics are in the history of Canada-U.S. relations. The evidence shows that the McKinley Tariff and the Trump Tariffs share a common strategic foundation: economic coercion paired with rhetoric about Canada's place in North America. Both attempted to pressure Canada into alignment by asserting U.S. dominance. and both produced the opposite of what was intended, strengthening Canadian nationalism and accelerating diversification away from the United States. Understanding these historical cycles helps Canada prepare for future challenges in its most important and most complex bilateral relationship. Baird's work contributes historical detail on the McKinley Tariffs' impact and Canada's nationalistic response. Irwin provides the broader historical analysis of U.S. trade policy and the role of tariffs as instruments of political leverage. The Library of Congress supplies primary documentation from 1890, showing how U.S. lawmakers framed the tariff as a coercive tool. The Canadian Encyclopedia provides context on reciprocity debates and long-term trade tensions. McKercher's Policy magazine article connects these historical patterns directly to contemporary events, including Trump's rhetoric and the 2025 tariff structure. Viewers can pause here to review the full citations and follow the direct links to the original documents. For more fact-based content about Canadian politics, democratic health, economic trends, and rhetorical analysis, the Facts for Canadians platforms offer ongoing resources and educational material. These outlets aim to strengthen public understanding, improve media literacy, and support evidence-based democratic engagement.